Hello, my name's Artemis and we are here once again with a whole buttload of information in our big fursuit guide.
This week we're looking at form versus function, cute versus comfy and practical, and all of the various options that you can have in your various fursuit parts and what they may mean for you. It's going to be a lot of information again, basically.
It's quite a decision to make considering there are so many options out there, but what could they mean for you and what exactly are you going for? Well, let's get into it because that's exactly what this one is all about. And why don't we just start at the top and work our way down? Let's get into the head, shall we? Okay, so we're starting off with the head, probably the most important part of the suit. There are a whole load of options for getting a good head, and I know how that sounds, but just stay with me, seriously. So, how do you want your suit to look? Because that is the big deal here. Are you going to want to go for like 2D kimono eyes? Because you can go for that, they look awesome. What about like a moving jaw? So, like, as you're talking and making noise, the jaw moves as well. That would be pretty fucking badass. Are you going to go for like glow-in-the-dark pieces, maybe? Like big snarly teeth? Maybe resin teeth? Ooh, they'd be shiny. That would look pretty goddamn awesome. Ooh, what about like a magnetic tongue or magnetic eyelids? So you can do a whole range of expressions as well. Or posable ears. Big, floofy, massive ears. That would be fucking adorable, really, wouldn't it? Sort of like a cute expression, just all adorable that you can act and do loads with, and really movable and posable as well. Lots of different options you can work in with that.
That all sounds pretty damn awesome, boy, gotta admit, but I do think we should inject a little bit of reality into the proceedings as well. I mean, nothing's ever 100% perfect now, is it?
God, why must you always make everything so goddamn realistic? Okay, yeah, I get it. Some options might make it heavier or more fragile or be more expensive, but I mean, it's worth it, right?
Well, that's always going to be a matter of personal preference, but there is another direction that we can look at this from, and that's one of comfort and practicality. So let's look at those options. First off, you're going to have a look at exactly what your head base is made out of. If it's carved foam, it's going to be a lot lighter than something such as cast foam or something like resin. So first, that's a whole consideration, the kind of weight that you're going to go for, because that can really pull on your neck and on your nose as well. You're going to want to think about whether that's going to be lined or not. Not every head comes lined. It's not always a standard option. You might just opt to have a balaclava on instead. You're going to want something that you can remove for ease of cleaning. The build quality and the build materials also have a lot to do with the ventilation, so how well you can breathe, and also the heat, which is going to be a very big issue with the head. Exactly how warm you're going to be getting in there. You're going to want it fully ventilated with like an open mouth, or are you going to want a fan system? You're going to want a multi-fan system. If so, how heavy is that going to make it with the electronics? The eyes are obviously a very big part of the suit as well, and you might want them to be a very big part of the suit so that you can see a little bit better. Obviously, your vision is going to be restricted. That's what a fursuit head does. But you can take different options to allow you to see a bit clearer out there. If you're like me and you wear glasses, you're going to have to think about that as well. How are you going to cope with that? Spoiler alert, what I would do is get some anti-fog spray and use that and make sure there's room to wear glasses inside the head. That typically works, but you also need a fan system as well to keep the condensation and humidity down. These are a lot of very practical options that you can take with all of this, and not everything has a drawback to it, but maybe these are things you should be prioritizing just a little bit. Of course, the body itself is another very important part of the suit, even if it is not for everybody and not even exactly necessary.
But it is totally adorable and adds to the entire look of the suit as well. And if you have decided to go for full fluffy coverage, then there are a buttload of options that you can go for that make it just extra adorable and fluffy, and that's what we want. Obviously, if you want maximum squish, then you're going to want to think about the padding. You want to go for, like, the full plush. You want to go for big, thick, chunky thighs. That's what we want. That is the cutest goddamn look that I can see. You want extra fluff, cool, unique patterns, maybe even lights. My God, that would look so good, right? Like, just having that totally comfy and cozy, huggable suit, you know? Just worry about all the other stuff later on. You might want pockets and stuff just to make it, like, really useful as well. But, oh, that option of of just being like fully suited up in something really soft, really squishy and comfy and huggable and soft and fluffy. That's the dream right there. I mean, that's what we all really want deep down, just to be nice and big and fluffy and cute and lovely. And I mean, maybe you want to go for planty grey, maybe you want to be a little bit lighter, but you can still have that extra fluff, and that is some goodness right there.
I will admit, they do sound like very nice and lovely, cute, comfy ideas.
Why do I sense a butt coming?
But they also sound kind of restrictive and very much like it's going to be very hot to wear this kind of suit, and it doesn't take into account all of the ease of use and wear and cleaning and such.
So let me guess, you got a bunch of options prepared that are going to be all boring and sensible then?
You are goddamn right I do. A lot of the options for the bodysuit can be very good for your quality of life, such as having a front zipper so you can do it yourself. Obviously that might not work with all kinds of patterns, you might need it to go up the back, but that will mean that you need someone else to help you out with it. You can also go for things such as detached parts. If you decide maybe one day that you turn up in the middle of July and it's hot as fuck, that you don't want to use the entire bodysuit, having an extra pair of sleeves and a tail that isn't attached to the bodysuit, for instance, hand paws and feet paws that are not attached to the bodysuit, means that then you can just partial, and it gives you those extra options as well. There are certain suit makers who can make things modular, where you can like zip off the torso and whatnot. That can alter the kind of padding that you're going to see, but it could be an option that you want to consider. The padding itself can be quite a thing to consider as well. Every maker has different styles of the kind of padding they're going to do, especially if you're going for digitigrade, plantigrade, plush, chunky, whichever you want to go for. Everyone's going to have a different style of how they do it. But that can also impact things as well. Obviously, a plush suit is going to be internally lined and going to be typically quite padded. But you can also go for a slim digi, which gives you that illusion without it being too heavy. You can go for chunky if you want to, but that's going to have different considerations when it comes to packing and moving around. And you can also go for having the actual padding sewn in to the suit, or as removable kind of cushions or pillows. Now, that has a lot of different options to it. For instance, you might find it easier to be able to take the padding out, store them separately. Definitely makes it easier when it comes to washing the suit, but then you kind of got to try and figure out trying to stuff the padding into the suit as you're dressing up as well. Unfortunately, having a bodysuit is going to make things hotter, and it is going to make things much heavier for you, so there are a lot of options you can have to mitigate that. I mean, you can always just wear Underarmours and a cooling vest, but there's nothing really that's going to cure those issues outright.
Alright, I guess those are some fair options to consider, but we got a shitload of other parts to consider as well.
Another vitally important part of the suit that really sells the look of the suit as well is the hand paws, and they come just about as varied as any other part, really.
But this is the part that gets the beans, and there are just so many ways to make them all cute and lovely and adorable. Like, you know, are you going to want claws or go without and just be like totally soft? Because I mean, that's the good way to do it. What kind of pads are you going to go for? Like, do you want like the squishy silicone kind, or like the cool resin kind, or do you want like plush, cute, soft, fleecy, lovely kind? Are you going to make them all bappy? You can have like big chunky fingers, like big raw lovely things that you could like punch somebody and they wouldn't even feel it. That kind of soft and plush. Oh, you can go for like full plush, like mitten style, you know, just completely bappy. That'd be so adorable. Oh, they would look amazing as well. You could go really big, really huge, the kind that you could just like completely swallow up someone's head if you put your hand on their face. God, there's so many good options you can do with these things. Like maybe even plushy claws. If you don't want to go for like resin claws, like big plushy ones, or you can go for like really long ones if you want for something scary.
Again, that sounds really cute and lovely and amazing, boy, but is that really the best set of options you could be going for?
Yes, cute, soft and fluffy is basically always the goal.
I mean, maybe for some, but there are still a lot of other things that you do need to consider. First off, think about how many fingers you want. Yeah, I heard that as I said it, but let's just keep moving. How many fingers you're going to want on your hand paws can obviously dictate your dexterity and your comfort. Are you going to go for the typical 4-finger paws where you've got 3 fingers and 1 thumb? In which case, are you doing these 2 fingers, these 2, these 2? What's going on with the thumb? How's that going to work for you? How easy is that going to be to get on and off as well? Are you going to be able to do it yourself? Pull them on and put everything back over? You're going to be able to get them off? You're going to be able to use your phone for that? Because you can get paws with finger escapes that make things incredibly easy and make things very useful as well. Are you going to go for 5 fingers? Are you going to go for mitten paws, which can look really good, but how are you going to be able to deal with that yourself? There are so many different options with this. The claws, if you're going for claws, you're going to be able to use things. Are they going to be attached really well? Same thing goes for the pads. If you're going for something like silicone or resin or even, then that's going to be a bit more cumbersome and difficult to use stuff than perhaps plush or fleece or something a little bit like vinyl. It all comes down to how comfortable you're going to be and how much you're going to be able to do when you're in this suit. Because when you get everything on all at once and you feel just how restrictive a lot of it can be quite unsettling.
You're loving this, aren't you? I mean, do you have to live quite so relentlessly in the real world?
Gold star to anyone who can tell me where that quote comes from. And yes, boy, unfortunately I do.
Often one of the first parts of the fursuit that you actually get because it's so easily accessible. The tail's so great that you can just wear it on its own if you want.
Though be warned, if you do that in public, you are going to get stared at, and probably not in a nice way.
But of course, with it being so iconic, it's something that is easily fantasized about. I mean, this is something that truly shows off that difference in anatomy. You know, humans don't have tails because they're boring bastards, but long, swooshy, soft tails that move when you walk and have that wiggle to them, that is some amazing shit right there. That is something pretty goddamn cute and adorable, especially the ones that maybe even curl or even bounce as you walk or can stick out and wave and swoosh all over the place. That's some pretty badass stuff right there. There's so many cool options you can have with these. You can make them sort of long and swooshy and fluffy. You can have the short little nubs, but that's mostly for people who like butts. But hey, that's cool. If you like butts, get a nub tail. That's really awesome look as well. Or you can have like a floor dragger. Have one of those massive gargantuan tails that you just want to hug and glomp onto. Oh, I like these options. These are cool. These are nice.
Such a dreamy and idealized vision you have there, boy.
I know, right? It's just so lovely.
Wouldn't it just be a shame if someone was to apply some sense and forethought to it? Okay, the tail. So obviously there's a lot of options you can have with a tail. It is something that a lot of people are going to buy. You don't have to have the rest of a suit. Sometimes it's the part of the suit that people buy first because they're quite easily available. But you need to consider how it's going to be attached. Is it going to be a simple belt loop attachment, which makes it very easy for partialing? It's something you can just wear all the goddamn time. Very easy to suit up and off. Is it going to be like a kidney belt that goes around your waist? Because that can be more secure, and especially if you're around children that are going to be tugging on that tail, potentially damaging it. That can mean that you don't end up wrenching some part of your body, but that is another consideration to make. You know, how accessible is it going to be having this tail on? Is it quite bulky? Is it going to be swooshing all over the place and then it's quite a hassle to actually move? Is it one of those tails that sticks out? Are you going to have trouble turning around without wiping off all the tables behind you? Is it going to be difficult for other people to move around when you're there? How easy is that going to be to travel? A lot of considerations to make on that one, but the length does come into it as well. A lot of people like the long swooshy tails, but, you know, someone of my height, not really much of a problem. There's not a lot of chance I'm going to get a tail that's going to touch the floor, but for people of normal height, that can be quite an issue. Then you end up with the underside of the tail quite dirty. Even if you have a floor dragger tail, which can look amazing, can really round out the look of your suit, that's going to get pretty filthy pretty quick, and that's going to be very difficult to wear outside. A lot of people have to opt for like a case for the tail just to keep it secure as they're walking around. Something you're going to need to consider when you get that commission.
At last, the part we've all been waiting for me to talk about, the feet paws, the most important part.
Oh, here we go. Yes, the part that he's been waiting for. Yes, while they are not considered totally necessary for everybody, there are still some important considerations to make if you choose to get yourself some feet paws.
Fuck off, they are totally necessary, right? And I will tell you for why. You were talking about the cutest, softest, plushest feet you are ever going to see, alright? They are the most comfortable things. You basically are allowed to just wear slippers everywhere you go when you're fursuited. Your feet can be all soft and cute and cozy and lovely and squishy. And I mean, just look, who wouldn't want these to walk around with? How are they not urgently necessary? There's so many options. You're going to go for foam, you're going to go for like plush polyfill, all stuffing, make them all soft and fluffy. What kind of lining are you going to go for? You're going to make them like proper slippers, or you're going to go stupid and boring and put shoes in there? Okay, what kind of pads as well? You go for like plush pads, vinyl pads. You can even go for like cool rubber ones that leave footprints as you walk. You go for massive paws as well, really big, wide ones that can stomp down on people, which are just so adorable. Works really well with macro as well when you think about it. You're going to go for claws. You could go for like really cool foot claws that can like poke people and prod, and they could look all amazing as well and sparkling, maybe match like the other ones you got on your hands if that's an option. And they could just be so cute and soft and fluffy. Oh, why are we not talking more about paws, honestly?
Wow, I honestly didn't think you were going to stop. Like, You know, as if you haven't really made your case for Paws clear over the past, 4 years.
And I will do it again!
But even you have to admit that sometimes there are some very important options to consider, and these options can actually be very different to the others. So obviously, are you going to go for indoor or outdoor paws? That's the biggest consideration really to make in this entire adventure, and the difference can be quite substantial. Obviously, indoor paws, very plushy, very cute, very detailed and very soft. Outdoor paws are very hardy, and they're built on shoes. They're potentially more comfortable, but in different ways. They are definitely more practical and definitely stand up to repeated use more than the indoor paws would. Obviously, everyone's going to want to kind of go for some certain options, but there's a give and take here. If you're having them built on shoes, then that's going to massively help your posture and your ability to walk around, as, you know, not having that level of support for your feet as you're walking around all the time can hurt quite a bit. And obviously, indoor paws are built mostly for indoor use and light indoor use. As you will tell from a lot of people who have worn their indoor paws at conventions, they get dirty and scuffed very quickly. And if that is an option that you want to go for, then maybe think about some sandals or even some sneakers that some of the makers can make for your paws. That can help protect if you do want to go for the more slipper type feel. They can be very nice, I'll give you that. They can feel great to walk around in, but also they can be quite cumbersome. Obviously, these are things that you're going to be walking around tight hallways with, and a lot of people. Are you going to be used to your foot, which is usually like this wide, being like this fucking wide, and you're having to try and walk and adapt to that? There are so many options that can really improve your quality of life when it comes to the feet paws. And if you're the sort of person who wants to be super active, walking around, running around, and doing stuff, outdoor paws are going to be the best for you, because you can just build those on some running shoes and go. And if you're trying to run around in basically slippers, then, well, I mean, that's been my life since I met Artemis, and I can tell you, it takes some getting used to.
I'm not conceding any of my points, alright? I know where I stand on paws, and they are just the best.
So there you have it. There's a whole boatload of options that you can take for making your perfect ideal suit, but they can all mean something very different. Some options are great for being cute and comfy, but some options you're going to want to take just for the practicality of them and the comfort of actually suiting up for a prolonged period of time. Some are just quality of life options. But it doesn't always have to be give and take. You can merge all of these options together and find your perfect suit. It just takes a little bit of forethought, which is what I'm here for, really, because, you know, Artemis doesn't really think about stuff fully, does he? But thank you very much for watching. I'm going to hand it off to Artemis doing what he usually does at this point, which is beg for money and probably try and promote some new t-shirts, because he's a shameless whore.
Wow! Just like that, just like that. Now I'm actually going to feel like a whore for showing this Patreon graphic right here that you might like. But thank you so much for watching. We do really appreciate it. It is lovely of you. If you do feel like you would like to support, then there you go. I hope this information was useful to you. I hope it was entertaining as well, because, I mean, that's the goal, in essence, is to make it entertaining and informative as well. And thank you very much, just in general, for everything. That's really nice. See, I'm not a whore. I'm just nice about it. I ask politely. Please just go have a look at the page, please. Please, please, please.